Hey everybody, welcome to the Patty G Show. I'm your host, Patty G. We are here for a comedic relief episode. Very serious business discussions up ahead, but yet some comedy on the horizon with none other than the great Lunchbox Comedy man himself, Jeff Vance. That's right. Jeff joins us in the studio to tell us all about the ups and downs and the tribulations and trailer parks that are involved in his comedic career all along the way throughout this episode. But before we get to that, before we jump in with Jeff, I want to give a big, wonderful shout out and thank you to the folks that bring you this show each and every week. Valaya Real Estate, Lakeman's Health Center, Gage, and our latest apparel partner, Genteel Apparel. Without further ado, enjoy the show.
I'm crazy. You'll learn. I'm bonkers crazy.
So, what were you doing in Florida? Were you doing a show?
Comedy.
Okay.
Yeah, we have, for some reason, we've had a string of comedians from Canada, Texas, one's from England. Tanya Lee Davis, she's the world's smallest comedian. She's 3'3". Yeah, very, very small.
It's pretty short.
Her opener picks her up and lifts her on the table for the show.
That's pretty good. That's a pretty good bit.
Well, it's not a bit.
Oh, it's not a bit. Okay.
She's just tiny.
Well, no, I know that, but why is she getting on the table?
So people can see her. I wish I was kidding. And it's like a full size table. It's like the size of a desk.
Okay.
You got to put her on there. Can't have a tablecloth on it because she might slip.
Right.
But step stool. She sits on the step stool and does comedy.
So how do people from England and Canada find out about Lunchbox?
Well, we have that reach, the comedy circles aren't as crazy as it seems. Like, I've been in contact with some crazy big name comedians, some that you may know, some you don't know yet. Aaron Belial, I don't know if you've seen him before. He has cerebral palsy, so his left side's a little jacked up.
Yeah.
And his vocal box doesn't work. So what he does is he writes his jokes on the phone, speech to text, through a Bluetooth speaker.
I think I have seen some bits of him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I've seen some bits.
He's been on America's Got Talent, and he's also been on Kill Tony.
That's where I've seen him. So I've seen him on Kill Tony. Okay.
Yeah. So if you've seen Kill Tony, maybe 5 or 6 of the name comedians from there have been on Lunchbox shows.
Okay.
Like David Lucas.
Yeah.
I had him in Gonzales, of all places, doing 2 sold-out shows, and then we did New Orleans for a sold-out show. And Aaron Belial is a friend of mine, so, I'll get messages from him when he's in Canada and stuff. Or in our group chat, if something's funny, he'll send a video of him laughing, which is hilarious. To make him crack is, huge for me. But then Tanya Lee Davis, we went down New Orleans together. She was in her scooter. She had many bottles of Fireball, but they're gigantic for her, so she's
it's a full-size bottle of Fireball for her. Right.
She's downing them left and right. I got her first Lucky Dog. She's like, "What do we eat?" I was like, "Oh, Lucky Dogs. You have to, because once those Fireballs kick in, that Lucky Dog's going to taste like a 5-star delicacy." So that's fun. Just showing them Louisiana has been a big thing. And I got her over to Chiba Hut first. They're one of our sponsors. So I was like, "Hey, I have a 3'3" comedian that wants to come eat at your establishment." And Meredith, who runs Chiba Hut, was like, yeah, send her on. So that was pretty fun.
So how did you get into doing the whole, where did Lunchbox Comedy come from?
That's a good question. Honestly, I started comedy in 2008.
Okay.
And when I started comedy is a lot different than where we're at now, but we had a Funny Bone. We had the AAA Funny Bone right there in Baton Rouge. So that was the comedy hub. Then we got the station that was doing the open mic and started some feature shows. So we kind of had a groundlings comedy scene. Then my girlfriend got pregnant, and I was like, "Oh, okay." Anxiety kicked in. I got to be a dad. So I left comedy, became a dad, DJ'd.
That was the dad job.
That was the dad job. Yeah,
love it.
Not really forward progression, just kind of sideways. But it was a wedding DJ job, so
That's
It's
lucrative.
dollars. Yes.
That's lucrative. I used to do that.
I was cutting rent. I was making rent happen, and it worked out pretty good. Started my own company, moved to Mississippi, became one of the top 3 DJs in Mississippi. Worked with Florida Georgia Line.
That's pretty cool.
Kane Brown, Dustin Lynch. I was their featured tour DJ for that little leg of Coast Coliseum stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that was going great. Moved back to Louisiana. When I moved back to Louisiana, COVID hit. And when COVID hit, it was like, oh, what do I do? And I wanted to do something similar to what you kind of have going on. I started what was called the Jeff Vance Show.
Okay.
So some of the early episodes that you find online that might be comedy will have marquee and marketing for the Jeff Vance Show. Because I wanted to do comedy, but as like a portion of the talk show.
So you were doing a talk show with comedy bits.
Correct. Like we had different segments. Like for the Jeff Vance Show, I would do an interview with a local entrepreneur, and then I would go see a business, and we called it like What's Up Louisiana, where I would pop in at a place and tell me what you do type thing. And then we would cut in comedy, but we didn't really have a place for comedy. So I was like, maybe there's somebody I can reach out to start producing comedy shows. An open mic was the goal. And South 73 Lunchroom was right there in Dutchtown. And I'm like, yeah, you have a date available? They're like, we don't do anything on Wednesday nights. Like, we're just paying the electric for no reason. And I'm like, okay, let me have one of those. And the idea was, very Kill Tony style, we were going to have a lunchbox, and people were going to sign up to be a part of the show, put their name in the lunchbox, and I'd just draw it out.
Yeah.
Called it Lunchbox Comedy.
Love it. Very simple.
Very simple.
I get it.
There's 8 different definitions for what Lunchbox Comedy is now from 8 different people that have no idea how it actually started. But that's what it was. We wanted to be an open mic, and it was a free show, but it was sold out. We didn't have any seats left. None of them comedians. So it was me, and I made a call to some old friends from the Funny Bone. Mm-hmm. They were all retired. And I'm like, hey, can you come do 15, 20 minutes at this open mic where no one showed up? And we did it round robin style, to where it's like I went up, did some time, then he went up, did some time, then she went up, did some time. Then it went back to me. I'd go back up, do another set. He'd do another set. She'd do another set. And that was the first show. It was not an open mic. It was just 3 comedians.
But you felt like an open mic.
Right. I wanted to gap it a little bit to where it would feel like that random energy.
Right.
So that happened. And after that happened, real comedians started chiming in like, you're back in the business? You're doing shows? What is Gonzalez? Right?
Where is Gonzalez?
Yeah. How do I pronounce this, and where is it? That became a thing to where they were trying to figure out where we were. And then once I told them, they came and checked it out. I was like, this is unconventional. It doesn't feel like a comedy show at all, because it wasn't built for comedy.
Right.
We made it. So it was a stage made out of pallets, like drink pallets.
Of course.
Duct taped together with some, I think I had gym mat and a rug.
Love it.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
That was our first shows. That's what we had. Then we had different people reach out, like Tremonti's Meat and Seafood was like, hey, we'll sponsor a stage. Covered the first stage. We had a 4-foot by 4-foot collapsible stage with branding around the sides of it. And that started one of the first sponsorship relationships we had was that. And it just kind of has been growing ever since. Like, to date, I looked at it not too long ago, but we featured well over 500 comedy performances over the past 3 years in and around Baton Rouge and Gonzales.
Okay. So just between Baton Rouge and Gonzales?
Yeah, I mean, we have
other places here and there, but
we have other places here and there, like monthly shows in Biloxi, New Orleans every now and then, Homa. But I kept it pretty much centered around Ascension Parish and Baton Rouge, which was important for me because for one, because I live here, and for two, just having everybody kind of come to my home grounds of people I know, the shops I know, the small businesses, and just kind of getting businesses the kind of foot traffic that they haven't had before.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you're getting a comedy crowd that's never been to Gonzales. When we produced the David Lucas show from Kill Tony and whatnot, he came in from Texas, and everybody at that show had never been to a comedy show because they've only seen it on Kill Tony, and they were only watching on TV. So, well, like, I was working the door just to be sure. And I was like, so how did you hear about us? And they're like, oh, Kill Tony. We heard him announce it on TV, which is crazy to hear Gonzales.
Anytime I hear anything like Louisiana or like first it's Louisiana. If somebody like on a big national thing says Louisiana, I'm like,
yes.
I'm like, oh, okay, keep
Right.
talking. And then if they say like Baton Rouge or Gonzales, or they say, you know, some other small like Prairieville or Sorrento, and you're just like, hold on a minute.
Yeah.
I need to really listen now.
It's jarring when you hear certain things, mainly because we're just not used to it. So it's like, wait, what? Something's going on in Gonzales that's not a bar.
Yeah.
And that was one of the main triggers a lot of people had, where it was like, what is this, an open mic? And then they showed up, and I was like, no, it's full-on productions.
This episode of the Patty G Show is sponsored by Genteel Apparel. Genteel Apparel is our newest clothing outfitter. We've got a great partnership with them. Head on over to the website, pattygshow.com/sponsors, to learn a little bit more about them, and there's a little treat there for you when you get there. Again, this episode is brought to you by Genteel Apparel.
Yeah.
One of our first, or our second location was at Gilla Brewing Company.
Yeah.
And they produced one of our first comedy shows, not at South 73. And that one was really cool because our headliner was T. Ray Bergeron, who opened up for Theo Von on Netflix and has done the whole tour from Funny Bone days and kind of revitalized his career. Because before, there wasn't a lot to do, but now we had up to about 5 shows a month, which is nuts to even start off with 5 shows a month.
So are y'all still doing 5 shows a month now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's spread out. Like, I think up front that first year, I pretty much just became my own competition, and I was just putting comedy shows everywhere because I wanted comedy to grow. I didn't care so much about like selling out shows as much as I did just know that comedy exists.
Mm-hmm.
So people will just back of their head like, I wonder if there's a comedy show. Wonder what's going on this weekend. And to where it's so close, you don't have to go anywhere to go do something that's not a bar or a restaurant.
And I think we've been needing that, right? So there's been attempts at doing stuff like that, but more, oh, hey, there's open mic night here. But it's not like, no, a comedy show is happening. Like, there are people coming in with prepared stuff. Like, you're not just, because I'm assuming the format's changed from the original intended of put your name in a hat and pull it out, Kill Tony style.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So the beauty of comedy is it's organic. It's one of the most organic art forms. Like music, sure, you can kind of improv, but comedy is 100%. This is what I want to do. This is what happened. So you may prepare 20 minutes, go into a show, and do 10 minutes and realize, oh, wait a minute. They work at the plants. I should probably talk about the plants a little bit. And you can work that in. Or if you look in the parking lot and there's like heavy duties everywhere, bring that into it. You notice that nobody's eating, everybody's drinking. You start talking more about drinking. There's a lot of on-the-fly thought process when it comes to a show. So that's kind of the difference between an open mic night and a produced show. Like, you may have somebody that has prepared material, but they've also got another hour in their back of their head just waiting for the right opportunity. Like Matt Rife gets a lot of notoriety right now because he does a lot of crowd work.
So much. I feel like anytime I see anything about him, it's only crowd work. And I'm sure it's tailored, and that's the clips he's putting out there to get you to come, because then it's like, oh, I can be a part of the show. Mm-hmm. But
it's a different type of comedy. A lot of what he does is the crowd work, but it's what's working for him. It invites conversation, which is a little different than most comedy shows. Because most comedy shows, if you have prepared material, you're trying to tell your material. Versus if you invite them to start talking about, oh, so what do you do for a living? Oh, what do you do? Then the next comedian that comes up, it's like, here's my storytelling, 20 minutes. And they're like, no, it's me now. You don't talk here. This is where I talk. I'm the talent, and a lot of them, they need that engagement to where it's like, just watch me.
Mm-hmm.
It's crowd work is hard, but having that in the back as like a kind of a back of your pocket trick to where it's like, yeah, we can do this 15 minutes I prepared, but in the event that I need to pull something out or talk to you guys, I'll be able to. And that brings it to another level. Whereas with an open mic, it's like, I wrote this 5 minutes and I've been practicing this 5 minutes verbatim, like every week. And somebody might go, your shoe's untied or something like that. That's a terrible example, but
It still might do it.
It's a very croc heavy place we live in here. Crocs and sandals, no shoes being tied.
Yeah.
But it might throw them completely off, and then there's just dead space, and they're dying inside is what's happening. And then they go home and cry and do it again the next week. That's what's crazy.
That's the part that blows my mind. I mean, you've got people that are consistently, for lack of a better term, failing at what they're trying to accomplish day in and day out. Every night you could potentially fail if somebody does that to you. But then it takes, however long to slowly get over that. And whenever somebody says, hey, your shoe's untied, you can, clap back at them and be like, no, these are Crocs in full-wheel drive. I don't need to tie my shoes. You can come back with stuff. But, yeah, those first few shows are rough.
You never really forget your first couple of shows. Like, they stay attached to you, and it could be one thing from those shows that, like, just becomes a part of you. Because, like, in the back of your head, when you go up there, like, not going to look down on my feet, not going to look down on my feet, not going to look down on my feet. And then you get up there, you do the whole set without even looking at your feet. And I was like, I didn't even need the foot joke. I made that Croc joke for nothing. So it gets.
And nobody asked me about my shoes this time.
Yeah. You were prepared, but also you had the right crowd. So sometimes that happens. It's just a whirlwind of, I hope I have the right crowd. Because a lot of times, I mean, every comedian, no matter how high up they are on the scales, everyone has failed at least once. And that's the one that just, it's the one guy in a room full of 200 people that's like arms folded, just looking up, nothing. You don't see all the people laughing. You see this one guy that's like, nope.
Yeah.
It's like, how can I crack that egg? How can I get to him? And a lot of times you just can't. It's their thing. They love going to shows and being
just
that one
being
guy.
that one guy.
Yeah.
I don't get that. Just let yourself enjoy it. Just enjoy it. Just let whatever they're trying to put off into the room, just let, soak it in and just be a part of the act.
It takes a lot to get control of that, because that one's that one will hold somebody back from coming back to a show.
Have y'all had people say that? Like, there was somebody in the audience, front row, they just stared at me and didn't do anything, didn't react.
The beauty of comedy is there's never the same show. Like, you may be doing I went on tour with Aaron Bilal, and we did like 9 shows back to back between Louisiana, Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and it was never the same show. Like, some shows were my crowd, some shows were his crowd, which you would think every show is for him, but like, people just show up. They're like, oh, comedy? Okay. I don't know these people, but I'll go watch it. Then when they watch it, they're like, I like the guy with anxiety. He's my favorite. Or I like Aaron. He's a little bit more my style. And it's fun, and also like disheartening a lot, because you'll go to a place.
Brings up a little anxiety.
1,000%. A lot of the questions I get is like, oh, you have anxiety. How are you doing this? And I was like, well, I don't wear my glasses. I take my glasses off. I can't really see anybody. It all kind of blends together. If it's a small crowd, like 10 people, I freak out. If it's like 30, 50, 100, the more, the better. Because I'm not so worried about them anymore.
They're going to feed off of themselves, right? It's like having one-on-one is one thing. It's like having, one-on-two, you can still kind of build. It's like when you get beyond the intimate group number of like 5 or 6. And then you're like, there's 7 people here. There's 8 people here. This is no longer an intimate crowd. Then it's like 10, I have to imagine, is the worst number. It's like everybody's like, now you got like potentially 3 groups of 3, and you're like, how am I supposed to connect to each of these groups?
It's literally rapid fire at that point. You're just looking at these 10 people like, okay, he's got a purple shirt on. Okay, LSU hat. That person's wearing Nikes. And you just catch every detail. So while I'm talking, trying to make people laugh, telling my story, at the same time I'm observing this entire crowd attend. Like, did she just check her phone during my set? Like, what's wrong with me? Why? I'm not entertaining? Meanwhile, I'm telling a joke, making this table laugh. Mm-hmm. But all I'm thinking about is her. She just checked her phone. Why would she check her phone? We're in the middle of a comedy show. Why would she do that? Then it's like, okay, I got to get this one. I'm looking at her phone case. I'm like, oh, it's a Hello Kitty phone case. I don't have any Hello Kitty jokes. I don't know what to do. You just kind of spiral for a little bit until another comedian goes up, nails her, totally gets her. And she's laughing. Then I go back up. Oh, she's in it now. I feel like this is not a random example. I feel like you've got a harboring feelings towards some girl with a Hello Kitty phone case. There's many.
Welcome to the brand new Falaya mobile app. We took all the same tech that's helped hundreds of people sell their homes themselves and packed it into an easy-to-use app for your phone. When you download the Falaya mobile app on either the Apple or Android App Store, you'll immediately be able to see the power of this game-changing tool. From the seller's dashboard, you can navigate to all the information that you need. We intentionally separated everything into key groups, such as tasks to be completed, buyer leads for your listing, and contact information for everyone involved through closing. When you get an offer on your property, you can simply review and respond all within the app. No matter where you are in the world, you'll be able to monitor everything that's going on with your property from listed to sold. It's truly the power of Falaya in the palm of your hand. Download the app and see for yourself. Falaya, it's real estate reimagined.
It's definitely an example. That's not pinpointed on anyone, but if it was, maybe laugh at my shows.
But I think that piece of comedy, right? That piece of you have no idea who you're telling a story to, because it sounds like your comedy is mostly just storytelling, right? You're kind of telling your story, your journey, and it's not so much of the heavy crowd work, right? So like using the Matt Rife, for example, he would immediately chew her up and be like, oh, Hello Kitty, what are you doing? This is a comedy show. Who are you talking to? Let me see it. Bring it here. Give me your phone. Who are you texting? You know, like he would play into that.
Yes.
But that is tough to do.
It works against the script, if you will. Like
you're breaking the fourth wall.
Exactly. You break the fourth wall in the middle, you break it that hard, it's hard to get them back. So the minute you involve them, they think they're a part of the show. And then you have someone else go on after Matt, and it's like, hey, hold on, I thought we were doing this together. It's like, no, you just enjoy this. I'm going to make you laugh.
So see, I never thought about it in that way. It's like you've got the whole rest of the show. You're right. As soon as you break it, it's now it's a shared experience for being on stage.
Yes, but it's a one-sided idea because only they believe that.
Yeah.
Like we still think it's like, no, we're the show.
Yeah, you paid to come here.
You paid to come here, not to entertain. If you paid to come entertain, I'll go sit down and eat the burger and make fun of you when you get up there.
Yeah. I mean, I think like
I don't make fun of people, just to be safe.
That's not what he said. That's not what he said earlier.
Anxiety. No, I didn't say that. Didn't say anything.
But I recently watched like Mrs. Maisel, right, and watching that whole progression of her, the story about this girl and her comedic career progressing, and like being able to see from her perspective, okay, you know, she's so much crowd work in that TV show, like it's all crowd work and all telling stories, but still involving the crowd. But then like you take it back and you get into reality and you put yourself on the stage, and then you don't know what that person's going to say. And as soon as they say something, you've now got to either interact with it or ignore it and look like a jerk.
Right. And that's sometimes the ignoring part works because you'll see somebody next to him go, shh. Or like a husband will quiet a wife. That's pretty entertaining because they'll be loud because they were just loud with the other person. So they figure they can still do that. And then somebody gets up there to tell a story that needs attention. Like it's all about volume too. A lot of storytellers are very monotone until they need to bring energy into the story. So a lot of it is, let me tell you about this time I was at this place. And then by the time they get to the place, and then who's behind there yelling, nah. It's levels.
Yeah, it's building and yeah.
Right. But when you're down here building, and they're talking, it's hard because you're fighting somebody that's just trying to interject jokes. And we're like, no. Karen, you work in the office at Home Depot. Let's keep it there. Water cooler is meant for you, not the stage.
And how do you, on the stage, combat that? Because I'm sure off all the shows you've done, you've had to run into that situation before.
There's two things that I'll tell anybody that's looking to start comedy or is producing comedy shows. There's two things you can do. One is teacher mode, where you, like, say, if I'm in the middle of telling a joke, I'll just stop and look at them and just deadpan quiet and do one of those, no, we'll wait. Then the crowd's in on it, and then the crowd will turn around and look at them and, all right, I'll be quiet. Or the other option is you can just curse them out. I'm kidding. No. You just go down there and just start slugging. That's how you get rid of them.
It's that Marucci bat back there. You bring it with you.
That's it. Absolutely.
Bring it with you on stage and just say, all right, this is for anybody that starts talking during the show.
Start pointing it at people. No, you definitely, as a producer or a host, when you see a table kind of getting a little louder than they should be, you can quietly go over there and be like, hey, let's keep it down just a little bit. He's on stage. And they'll either love that or they will hate that. But that's all you can really do. Some clubs will literally tell them to leave. And I respect it, but also they paid to be here. Let's see how far we can keep them here.
Yeah.
A lot of times they don't come alone if they're that smashed. So their friends will be like, sorry about my girl. We're going to get her home. Okay. Do you?
Now would be great.
Yeah. No,
yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. You need a ride? Do you need me to call? So comedy's strange, but it's the people that are there for the right reasons. Mm-hmm. That's what keeps you going.
So in the producer role that you're in for these shows that you're putting on, you're not on the stage. What does the back side of that look like? What are the behind the scenes? What are you involved with? What are you doing?
If you're doing it right, producing a show has a lot of wheels in motion. Between the venue, you book the venue. Some venues don't have food. You book food for it. A lot of our shows feature food. A lot of comedy shows do not. A lot of comedy
why do y'all
shows
feature food?
Because I like food.
Well,
I mean, Mr. Lunchbox over here. The food element has been one of my favorite parts because some people will grab the reins and just go with it. We used to do some shows with Soulshine.
Love it.
And they kind of have their trust dinners.
Yep.
We did something similar where it was a comedy show. It was a Soulshine comedy show. It was like a collab between us, and we would theme them, and each theme would have. We did a Valentine's Day theme. We had Bobby Jean Brown as one of the comedians, a few others, but we would have 3 comedians, 3 courses, and it was all Valentine themed. It was like one side was about heartbreak, the other side was like true love type thing, and you could pick what side.
Mm-hmm.
And just theming food around it has always been a thing that we do, and a lot of the comedians are like, "Oh, I get it now," because it's just me because I like food, and I was like, we should definitely have food. And a lot of places that do comedy typically have chips, jerky, things like that, popcorn. Some have pizzas.
Yeah, very quiet meals. Very quiet meals.
I want big, loud meals. You got to be quiet, but your food, very loud.
Yeah, we want to hear the crunch. We don't want to hear you yap.
Exactly. Or you'll hear the crunch of my bat. That's callback. That's what we call it.
I'm with you.
But yeah, we featured food at just about all of our different shows. But a part of the production is booking the food, the capacity, how many people can come get food. If you order in advance, that way the food vendor knows how much food to bring. A lot of them do food trucks, so we feature a lot of the food trucks not only on the Lunchbox Comedy page, but also Eat the Boot. Our friends Joey, Tony, shout out. Yeah, so that's I guess the front end of the back end is the venue and the food, and then you have to book the comedians. Comedians they're all different levels, and really I have a group chat with about 60 of them, and I'm like
60
and growing. I don't know if
that's impressive.
That's the cap, but we have Well, we've done comedy shows 5 times a month for the past 2.5 years, and we've never repeated a show. So it's always been...
Never repeated a lineup?
Correct.
Okay.
We've had the same comedians come back on different shows, but it's never been the same or in different venues. So a part of that whole calendar thing is me just looking over it and saying, how many times have I had him this year? Who should I put in this year? Who loved him? Where was he loved the most? And just kind of following suit. Then you get a call from like a Stephen Lally, who's going to be coming down in November. Shout out. He was the writer for Cat Williams. So he's going to come down and do shows with Lunchbox Comedy, which is wild. Cletus T. Judd I'll be opening for him pretty soon. And it's just, my phone is the craziest thing in the world because I have Butterbean, the boxer.
Yeah.
Bobby Jean Brown, who was the Cherry Pie girl on the Warrant music video. I have all these phone numbers. And they're like, hey, Jeff. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, I'm from Gonzales. I shouldn't have a phone with Butterbean, like, saying, hey, what's up?
Thank you to our wonderful sponsor, Lake Men's Health Center with Our Lady of the Lake Physicians Group. Guys, I know it's tough to get out and go to the doctor. I know it's challenging to find time in our busy days, but I promise you, signing up to be a part of this group with Dr. Curtis Chastain and Dr. Tyler Boudreau, you won't regret it for several reasons, but most of those being the fact of the time it saves, where you're able to get in on the same day, get that appointment done, and spend that time you need to talk with them about what your health goals and concerns are, as well as ensuring that the financial investments you have, you will be able to live out and see those come to fruition. So if you're an investing guy, you know all about and planning for the future and investing in the future. There's no other more important thing to invest in than your health. Make sure you go check them out. Our Lady of the Lake Physicians Group Men's Health Center, and tell them Patty G sent you.
It's just wild. Just the repetition between doing comedy shows every month, mixed with producing them and having my own comedy career on top of that. It's crazy.
Yeah, but it's like, you're not just the producer behind the scenes, you're also the on the stage performer.
Correct. That's been a big thing for me, is figuring out how to be a producer, because I was a comedian first.
Right. And generally comedians, like my managers, do that, you know?
Yes.
My team, I got a team that handles the show and my bookings and
I deal with a lot of those.
One of another.
Yeah. So it's weird being the talent, but also booking talent and making sure that I don't, this is the anxiety kicking in. I make sure that I don't feature myself as much as I want to. Like 5 shows a month, I could headline at least 3 of those, right?
Right, right.
But I don't.
Look, see, I would recommend getting your notebook and putting it in Excel, and then running a randomizing formula that puts you as a headliner for as many shows as possible to not have repetition.
Right.
I think at least 2 or 3 a month.
I think I could go a whole year just being the headliner.
Right.
I think,
but like a subtle headliner, like you never like you're like you're the headliner, but like you never tell anybody. Like your name's like in small print, like featuring like the headliners. Like you hide your name, and then but you always close every show.
Oh man, that's a whole different category we can talk about. I've seen some shows where, and you never go on after the headliner. That's
right. It's the end.
Oh, they'll start throwing tables.
That's what I'm saying. So you close out every one.
To close out the closer is
yes.
pretty impressive. I've seen it. I have definitely seen it.
Have you done it?
I've never done it, but I've seen a host.
Okay.
Watch a headliner do 30 minutes, then the host gets up and does 10 more minutes after the headliner. Headliner comes over to me like, hey, are they doing time right now? I'm like, it ain't my show. Yeah, they are. So I'd take them out if I was you.
So like your producer role, somebody has been in that position and said, nah, they weren't good enough. Let me go give the people 10 more minutes.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is, like, they killed. Like, they did great.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it wasn't like a bomb and then it's like, I got to save this show. It was,
right.
Here's a little bit more of me.
Yeah.
You did really good. I think y'all need to remember me. which is wild, but it happens.
And so when will you do that now?
I think tomorrow. It's going into effect immediately.
That's right.
I do have some shows coming up that I choose to headline. Deadbeat Brewing in Hammond actually reached out about a comedy show, and it's a new venue, and it's untested. So I was like, I'll put it all on me. I'll do that as a first show. I've done that a couple of times over here just to establish a venue, see if it works, and when it works, it works.
So I mean, in venues like that, you're picking a new venue. What are you looking for specifically from? I mean, is it a set design? Like, if somebody approaches you and says, "Hey, I've got this new venue," what's your checklist that you're going down to see if it's plausible?
So that's really a funny question. Joey Cavalier, Eat the Boot. He's always attached to me when we're going to places, not literally, figuratively. And
he's painted yellow like the chair, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. We'll go to a venue and grab some food, and while we're sitting there eating, I'll just be traveling. You'll see me kind of just looking around and stuff, sizing it up, and I'll go, "This would be good for comedy." And he knows when I'm doing it. He's like, "You're trying to see if you can do comedy here, huh?" Yeah. And now he's starting to do it now too with his blind dinners. So how the cookie crumbles. But it's neat going to a venue. Main thing I look for is capacity. Like, how many people can we fit in here? What is the general foot traffic? Is it conducive? Like, is the bar over here separate to where we can do a show here? If it's in the middle of the wherever, it's like it's harder to do because you want people to buy drinks at the wherever we're at.
Right.
But if it's in the middle of all the traffic, it's hard to kind of navigate them to say, "Hey, be quiet when you're asking about drinks," or "Move here, don't use a blender." Weird stuff.
Yeah,
like
people use blenders during shows.
1,000%.
While you were on stage.
Oh yeah, comedy's going on, and the comedians just kind of stop and go, "I guess I'll wait for a blender." That's new. It's new because a lot of them have never been to one of these Lunchbox shows because we do venues that typically aren't built for comedy or don't have a stage. Like we pack everything up and bring it in. So a lot of these shows have lighting that's never had lighting before, or a stage or a microphone, speaker placement. Figuring all that out is just a part of that whole booking the venue process. But that's really it. If it looks like it doesn't have to be many. Like the Deadbeat Brewing has, I think, about a cluster could probably fit about 25 seats, which isn't a lot.
Yeah.
But for the right crowd, and if it's fun, and if people are showing up and enjoying themselves, I'll book that every month.
So what are your typical show numbers?
It ranges. We have one of our friends, DJ Rhett. His shows typically range between 160 to 200 people. He's definitely a draw, so I would recommend any producers out there, hit up DJ Rhett. If you're a bar looking for entertainment, DJ Rhett. Shout out DJ Rhett. He's great. The smaller shows range between 25 to 50. Most of our shows are about 70 to 100.
Okay.
So it's a fair amount of people, and depending on where we're at, we make the price tag pretty reasonable. Because, again, it's comedy, so our focus is more about getting our names out there than trying to cash in on a bar that's looking for an opportunity. That happens a lot, too.
Yeah, you've got bars saying we've got slow nights. Let's do comedy and just have people get drinks, you know?
Right. Some think that, like, we're the end all to save their business, and really we add to a business.
Right. So
if you book us, we can bring more people there, but you'd still have to have people that already want to go there.
Yeah, you got to have an establishment that's attractive. You can't have a rundown, trailer that's not working out well and say, "Hey, come do comedy here," and really bring us back to life.
In a trailer.
This episode is proudly presented by Gage. Gage is a local company here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. For over 40 years, Gage has provided businesses with the very best telecommunications, IT,
and standby power services available. Gage has a variety of services, including Gage Cloud Voice. It is the last phone system your business will ever need. You need to give your business the ability to be accessible anytime, anywhere, and with Gage's cloud-based phone system, you'll be able to accomplish just that. Not only do they have Gage Cloud Voice, they have fully managed IT services that are proactive network monitoring, 24/7, 365, help desk, business continuity. They are there for you. What you're also going to need is some cybersecurity. Gage is there to safeguard your business from potential cyber threats, even when you aren't aware they exist. Gage also is power and leaders in standby generators. They are the #1 Cummins dealer on the Gulf Coast and provide generators to homes and businesses of any size so you can keep life going. Gage, better connected, a proud sponsor of the Patty G Show.
Yeah. I don't know if I should put all that out there, but there was a.
You're doing it now. Do it.
Okay. Macomb, Mississippi.
Got it. Nobody listens to the show from there.
2 people unsubscribed. I can't believe they talked about us. Macomb, Mississippi, got a call. They're like, hey, we would like you to come do comedy in Macomb, Mississippi. And I was like, we're good. I'm okay. Thank you. Like, we'll put you on billboards. And I was like, okay, I'm in.
You've got my ear.
You've got my attention. They put us on 2 billboards. One is in front of a trailer park, and the other was in front of a Dollar General. So it's the whole population of Macomb. It just, off those 2 billboards, all 50 of them. They came to the show at this venue. It was my first time at the venue. I walk in, it was a trailer. And I'm like, okay. All right. It was a trailer. And I asked, I was like, where do we set up? They're like, oh, it's down the stairs. So you leave the first trailer and you go into a second building.
Okay.
And there's some pool tables. And you go, okay, where do I set up? You're in the other one. I'm like, oh. There's a third building.
Okay.
So first set of stairs into the second building, another set of stairs into the third building.
Mm-hmm.
That was, all 3 of these buildings are actually in what used to be a junkyard that got retrofitted into.
I see community revitalization.
Hey, that's why I was there. Believe in me. And I get to the third building. They're like, yeah, you set up there. So we set up. It's very diverse place. Lots of different colors of flannel. And it's very diverse. Lots of belt buckles and beards. Very diverse. Yeah, so we did the show. It was me, T. Ray Bergeron, and Mike Honoré. And we all did great. At the end of the show, I'm packing all this stuff up because I bring my own equipment.
Right.
Breaking down microphones, breaking down speakers. When I do, it gets really warm behind me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what is that? And right in my bubble, anxiety. And he's right there. So I turn around. It's a gentleman. Belt buckle's like here on me. And there's the rest of them.
He's a tall lad.
Well, normal. I'm a short lad. Is the answer to that. Very short. 5'3". 5'4" when I had hair. It goes away. So I'm in there. He's in my bubble. He's like, yeah, man, look, we wasn't even going to come out here, but we heard there was a comedy show. You guys put on a great show. It was a great show, man. But you're no Jeff Foxworthy. I'm like, oh.
Did the billboard say I was Jeff Foxworthy?
Oh. Didn't realize that Jeff Foxworthy comes out to trailers in Macomb, Mississippi for $5. Like, baffles me. And that was my experience with that. I don't even know why I was talking about that.
So, diverse venues.
Was it? Oh, because of the trailer.
Right, the trailer.
There's 3 trailers attached together to make this venue, which is wild.
But Jeff Foxworthy's been there.
Clearly, someone expected it, didn't get it, so
they got the wrong Jeff.
Might be a redneck.
That's when they put Jeff in big letters on the billboard,
absolutely.
and Vance was very small.
Not anymore. Vance is really big on billboards in Macomb, Mississippi. Or so I've heard.
So you've heard. You haven't been back? I'm shocked.
Haven't been back. Not my place. Yeah, they did not call me back, in fact.
But I mean, you put on a good show. It sounds like.
Yeah, we do put on good shows, but a lot of times, even if the show goes good, it'll be like, this isn't really a fit for us.
Mm-hmm.
This worked because it would be a first show, a second or third. The consistency kind of dwindles because the excitement's gone. That's something that a lot of places over here in Baton Rouge kind of suffer from.
It's like it gets almost boring from it being like a normal, like if it's a normal comedy.
Yeah. Like a good example is if you have a brick and mortar and you're called like Fancy Crawfish. Your name of your building's Fancy Crawfish.
Yep.
Whoa, man, I can't wait to go to Fancy Crawfish. Everybody gets excited. They post on the what's happening pages. It's like, oh my gosh, Fancy Crawfish. Everybody goes, and for 3 months, can't even get through the door. Then on month 4, just dies off. So what happens? Fancy Crawfish has to close its doors. So Fancy Crawfish closes its doors, and a new business opens up right there called Exquisite Shrimp. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, I got to go try this Exquisite Shrimp. It's the same thing, just with a new name on it. That's all it is. And people just clamor for it. So I made the joke a while back where I was like, I'm closing the doors to Lunchbox Comedy. We're just going to have dinner comedy coming up soon, dinner tray comedy. And a lot of people asked if I was closing my business. It was a joke, not a good one.
So how often does that happen? Where you end up like having something that's intended to be comedic and then it's not received in that way. Then you have to kind of backpedal.
Well, it's the internet. So it's almost every other post. Like there's a couple, I will say this, most of my regulars have come to realize it's like, oh no, he does have anxiety. He's struggling right now, and they'll watch. And if something happens that throws me off, which does happen also, if you're at a show and you see Jeff kind of just lose his place and he's talking out loud what he's thinking, that's me struggling through anxiety, and I'll bring up the next comedian. But they've kind of come to know that sometimes that happens. It does affect me. So what was the question? Was I answering the question?
You answered it perfectly.
Okay.
Yeah, you answered it perfectly. So I'm curious, with all this production, you obviously involve video, microphones, and everything, so much so that you've produced it enough to be on Amazon.
Yes.
How did that happen?
Well, from my DJ days,
right,
I have a lot of friends that are in photography and videography, but they're still focused on weddings and big name productions. So I got them on an off night and was like, we're doing a show in Biloxi. It's 4 months away. Let's work some post-production. Let's figure this out. But I think we can get a special onto Amazon. But we need sound. We need video. I think we had 3 photographers running backstage, 3 different camera angles, a lot of people involved, but it was all for the mutual benefit of getting on Amazon, which kind of hard to do.
I was about to say, I don't think like you just wake up and say, I want to be on Amazon one day.
No, it's not that easy. We filmed a lot of video, clipped as much as possible, edited. We got to a point where we were happy with the runtime, and we moved into having to have a subtitles track because you can't release anything on Amazon without subtitles. Figuring out subtitles is fun for a comedian, especially when you have 5 different rhythmic comedians. Like there's different beats and pauses that each one of us have that can be detrimental or can be really soothing. It just depends on who's talking. Mine's more or less like a therapy lesson when you hear me talk, whereas other comedians are kind of zoned into this is what you see on a special. I'm conversational. So like when we're talking on stage, it's almost like me telling you my life story and making pauses for comedy, of course.
Dramatic effects.
Yeah. Well, as dramatic as you can be with being 5'3". A lot of flails, a lot of flailing.
Yeah. That's what you got to do at that level, right?
Flail? Yeah. At 5'3"? Is that what you're talking about? That level or like my comedy level?
No, at the height level.
Oh, okay. Got it. Both apply. I'm flailing to stay alive in comedy. It's It's become a young man's game, as it were. But producing a comedy show, all of that happened. And we had like dailies for each comedian. We filmed opening credits. Each comedian, when they went out, they had their city and state they were from. Like Gonzales, Louisiana is represented with me, which is, I'm the only comedian from Gonzales to be on Amazon. So you're welcome, Gonzales.
Put them on a map.
Yeah, put you on the map. No one can pronounce you, but you're there. So all that happened. And after all of the filming and editing is done, then you have to submit a package to Amazon. Then once Amazon gets it, they send it back. The notes are sparse. The notes are whatever they are. They're not really detailed. They're not really finite. It's like, hey, do better. It's like, oh, okay.
Make us laugh more.
Yeah. Like, they're like, we like the video, but also we need this. Switch this to this format. We need this to happen here. Just so much. Like, it was done in August, and we got it released in February of this year. So, still pretty new, but 5-star reviews.
There you go.
I'll take it.
So, I mean, how do you even go about emailing it to Amazon? Is there just like an inbox@amazon.com email address you send this to?
No, actually, there's a big lengthy process of... Amazon has a video direct side.
Okay.
I think it's called Slate now. They just rebranded. So people can submit their content. You have to have 5.1 Dolby Surround. You have to have the correct video format. Ours was filmed in 8K. That's how it goes.
Better than most of us can see.
Correct. I definitely could not see it. It was a black screen every time I looked at it. But that's also the benefit of dealing with videographers and photographers, that their bread and butter is basically having the highest quality everything.
Right.
But a lot of them were like, yeah, I've never used this before. I'm excited.
And
so
that's like, perfect. This is what we're sending to Amazon.
Yeah.
A bunch of amateur videographers and photographers using stuff for the first time.
Absolutely.
What could go wrong?
We had some. Nothing really went wrong, because I think you saw the margarita video. It was pretty popular.
That was stellar.
That was the test shoot.
That was phenomenal. Like from a purely quality production standpoint, absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you.
From a content standpoint, over the moon. I loved it. It was great.
Yeah, it was
5-star review.
It was one of those moments where we were just kind of like, how do we test all this stuff out? And actually, some of the photographers own a studio, so we went to the studio. He's like, hey, I just installed a rain room. I'm like, we're using it. Don't know how yet, but we're using it.
Right next to a spray tan booth.
No, that was separate. I got my spray tan here locally, and then I drove with fresh spray tan to Biloxi. I was orange. And we didn't really know if the rain room would hold
wipe it off.
Yeah. So there was some brown water at the end of that shoot, and I promise, all from the spray tan.
Well, I mean, you're from Gonzales, so it's okay.
It's Gonzales water. We'll say that.
So you do all this filming, you do all this production, and then, I mean, what is obviously, yes, you're on Amazon. It's great benefit and everything, but like, why did you kind of wake up and say, I want to be on Amazon? What kind of drove you to that?
Well, in comedy, there's levels to a lot of it. One of the biggest levels is being taken seriously, and it's hard to be taken seriously until you show someone that you have drive. I said we're going to be on Amazon, and I said that like pre-August, because I booked the comedians, which would have been, if it's August, it probably would have been May. In May of last year, I was like, we're going to be on Amazon. Who's with me? Like, I was like, I can't guarantee anything, but we're going to get there. And luckily, I have enough trust built with this crew that they're like, we're with you, sink or swim. So, sink or swim, they dove in, and we put together the special. But most of the drive comes from just tenacity and just making this a career and I'm all in. And that's hard for a lot of comedians. Like a lot of them have part-time jobs, full-time jobs, and comedy's kind of like their hobby. So they don't,
Right.
It's not like they don't care as much. It's just they're safe. I'm not safe at all. It was all or nothing for me when I jumped into it. It's all I do. And I have a kid at home. He gets it, thankfully. There's a lot of weeks and weekends where we just can't do anything because dad's show didn't do too hot, or like all the money's into this right now. But it goes to communication. Just got to communicate. He's a teenager, so he kind of gets it.
Yeah. When he sees what you do now, too.
Yeah.
You know, like with having social media and access to see dad, right, and see what he does as his career is pretty cool.
Yes. His friends have actually seen a lot of my stuff, too, which is weird. I'm not going to say it's not. It's definitely weird. I'll be at the gym, and some of his football friends will be at the gym as well. And they're like, Mr. Vance, I saw your special. It's like, it's not for you. Gonzalez.
Yeah. Did not write it with you in mind.
No, not at all. And then they start kind of mouthing bits back to me. They're like, oh, your phone number bit. I'm like, definitely not for you.
Not here at whatever time we're at the
Don't
gym.
tell your mom.
Let's. Who knows you did that?
Exactly. But it is a lot of communication. He knows what I do. So a lot of it is kind of a team effort between me and him, because I am a single dad where it's like I have him full time and I do comedy, and it's a lot.
Yeah, it's not an easy task to undertake.
Oh yeah, it's a lot.
But it sounds like it's one that's at least continuing to be profitable in a way.
Yes, and it's moving that way too, especially with the new partnerships and whatnot coming through. We're able to get to a lot more people. And I think that's always been the problem, because besides the production part of it and the actually doing comedy, there's also that other half where I have to be on social media. I have to push. I have to plug this. You know how it is. You do the same thing. It's just poking and prodding and making sure everybody knows, like, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is where I'm at. But what happens nowadays is a lot of it gets buried because the algorithm's like, no, I see what you're doing. You're pushing your shows. I'm like, yeah, that's what you're for, internet.
That's the whole point of social media.
Yeah, and they're like, no, we don't want that.
You're not paying for it. Pay for it, we'll push you all day.
Exactly.
Organic, no.
Oh, organics, it's a mountain I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, I think you just have to drop some of your vocabulary. You know, Jay was giving you some great pointers, what words not to say.
True. And words that he would.
But, you know, you're right. There are partnerships locally that we are both now acquainted with.
Yes.
WFP Plus.
Excited about that. It's going to be fun. The Lunchbox Comedy podcast. It's going to be basically what I pitched was the Jeff Vance show. It's like, I already have groundlings of what I want to do with it. It's going to look like this, which fit the mold for what they were looking for. So we're going to have comedians. We're going to have, you're going to come on the show for sure.
Oh my gosh, no.
You don't have to be funny.
Okay, all right, I'm on.
That's my job.
All right, good.
We've been through this.
Good.
You just got to sit there and be entertained.
I can do that.
Okay.
I'll help you work on your crowd work.
You can have it. I don't want it. I'm just going, all right, and now Patty G's going to do some crowd work. I'm going to go have a sandwich. And then it's when you come out and you're like, hey,
I'm the crowd.
Nice Hello Kitty phone.
Yeah. But it's fun with that partnership now. It's like going beyond social media, right? So now we're not just having to put it out on YouTube or put it out on Instagram, TikTok, where have you. Now we've got our own different platform.
I think that's really going to be huge for us. Like, I don't know how it goes for you as much as us, but driving people to us is a hard thing to do from the internet, because it's like, when is the show? Where is the show? How far away from me is that show? Do I want to drive all the way there? Or how can I make this more convenient for me? And a lot of it comes down to just not knowing that we're not in one location. We're kind of the pirates of stand-up comedy, because we don't have a home. Like we pretty much go from venue to venue delivering different shows. So it's hard to keep track of where we go a lot of times. But having us centrally located on a station like this will give everybody an opportunity to kind of see what we bring to the table.
Yeah, and where your shows are going, where it's upcoming.
Yeah.
To build that draw point to say, here's your data, and come learn more.
I'm excited about it. There's a lot of people are going to learn about both of us that have never heard of us, and I'm excited about that.
That they will. Yeah. For better or worse.
We're coming.
That's right. So the Patty G Show and Lunchbox Comedy Podcast on WFB Plus. We're taking over.
That's it.
I don't think they know what they got themselves in for.
Oh, I don't either. I don't think they've seen half the videos you just saw. So we'll see what happens.
Maybe we should just like have Jay embed them in this episode. Like video overlay. Just have
right there.
right here. Just have Jeff doing his margarita dance.
Okay. Or not.
Well, Jay, before we get you out of here, we do have a set list of questions to keep within the show's format.
Okay.
That we ask every guest.
Gotcha.
So the first one being, what is something you did as a kid you wish you could still do today?
Well, something as a kid I wish I could still do today would definitely be myself. Because a lot of what has happened with anxiety and just all the pressures of being an adult, I wish I could just get rid of that so I could just genuinely be myself.
I like it. So you have done comedy, then become the top 3 rated DJ in Mississippi, and then now you're back to comedy doing the pirate ship of shows. What are 3 lessons you've learned along your way?
Stick to what you think is right. A lot of what happens with being an entrepreneur or trying something new, a lot of people have opinions and it just gets in the way of the creative side. And sometimes you just have to let the creative side make a judgment call and sink or swim. At least you did it. A lot of people just kind of let that creep in where maybe I shouldn't do that, or maybe I should say this, or maybe I should dress this way. Maybe people like me better if I did this or that. Whereas if you're just going from your gut and whatever your creative brain is telling you is it'd be fun if I did this, and then you do it and sink or swim, it's still your creative idea and you went with it. And it's easier to hold on to that and be like, well, I went for it, versus I let somebody talk me into doing this instead.
I love it.
If that makes sense.
It does.
Okay.
What is something you love about Baton Rouge?
Honestly, the thing I love about Baton Rouge is just the mixture of people, and the cultural diversity is really becoming huge in this area between the Asian markets we have. Those are so much fun. The music scene, the concerts, the festivals. We have a cult horror convention and stuff like that happening. I went to one last year. They just did one this year with the people from Five Nights at Freddy was the featured group of people. But just having a lot of different things to do that aren't go to a bar or go eat at a restaurant. I think that's important, and Baton Rouge is really on top of that.
Yeah. And if not, we're building more and more every day.
Exactly.
So for the final question, what can I do to help you?
What a curveball question. That is such a good question. What a curveball nonetheless. I would really just say, just keep doing what you're doing. I don't think help is viewed in the same way that it used to be viewed, where it was I need this from you in order for me to get this done.
Right.
If we gel, if there's something that looks like it fits in our path, then we're shaking hands and we're going to do it. But if it's going out of your way, or if this is the anxiety kicking in right now. If it's anything that gets in the way of you genuinely being you, I don't want it.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, man, thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, dude, thanks for having me.
This was a
Fun.
blast.
Absolutely.
Liked hearing your stories and liked hearing where Lunchbox is going, man. I'm excited.
It's going to be crazy town. I don't know how long we're going to be doing as much as we're doing, but this is the most we've ever done with 350 seat venues.
Wow.
And Gonzales just had that new Performing Arts Center, the PAC Center, I believe.
Yep.
It seats 800. So the opportunities for Lunchbox to bring in big names,
Gotta sell it.
right around the corner.
Got to sell it, man. So where can people go to learn more about you? Where do you want to, where should we send them?
So Lunchbox Comedy Live is our website. You can go there. We have pictures from past events. We have links to upcoming shows, things like that. I'm pretty active on Facebook. If you follow Jeff Vance Comedy, that's me. And Lunchbox Comedy has its own page and group as well. The group, I think, is about 2,000 members. The page has about 5,000.
Got it.
So we can get those numbers up. That'd be cool. I'm on TikTok, too. It's all the same.
Just a reposting, right?
Oh, yeah. Instagram, I have one. I'm trying. I don't know. I'm 41. I don't know what I'm doing.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
Well,
Trying to.
thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having you on, and we'll be crossing paths and co-communicating. Absolutely, absolutely. So thank you, Jeff, for coming on. And thank you, everybody else, for listening to the show or watching the show, whatever platform you're consuming us on. I really appreciate it. And the guests do as well. Check out Jeff Vance. We're going to link his website as well as his social media profiles to these posts each time we get it out there. So thank y'all, and we're going to see you next week.